Hoi! One of the major things that is holding many players back from actually attempting the Sandworm is having the right gear. And this is a problem especially at the moment when crafting is extremely expensive because all the craft mods have gone up in price from crafting, so that's not the ideal route, especially if you don't have a lot of gold. There's a great solution to this problem though that the devs kinda sneakily snuck into this patch without really telling us about it, so that is what we're gonna look into today. I'd like to thank Oathrazer who stumbled across this. So, you are probably aware that most of the best in slot gear for the Sandworm is Beast Ward and Refreshing, unless you're after specific weapon perks. You get some of that from the quest line, but that is just medium gear and that is all full con, so you can't really do a full set for the Sandworm from that. But there is a place where you can actually get useful gear in that regard. This place has always existed, but the problem is that until recently it was an absolute pain to farm and therefore very inefficient. But that has been changed. The place I'm talking about is Eternal Pools. Now Eternal Pools has Avarice in his arena at the top of the pools. But that was always annoying because you had to basically loop around this whole path because you get kind of spat out at the end here and then you go back up. And in Avarice loot pool we can find the Protector's equipment cache. The Protector's equipment cache has quite a few drops, among them quite a few named items as well that aren't necessarily bad, but most of them are Angry Earth Bane. But for example, there is Fractured Bow in here as well, which is a Beast Bane weapon with Pylon Burst. Very nice if you're using an Ice Gauntlet on the Raid Boss 2. But the more important thing that we are after here is the Mossborn gear, in particular the blue Mossborn gear, like these pants here for example. Because what you can see with this gear is that it comes with Beast Ward and Refreshing locked. And that is the case for all light and all medium pieces. So this is basically incredibly close to best in slot, even if you just get the purple version that is just the 2-perker. That is as good as it gets for Sandworm for most groups. That's what almost everyone is running, including the groups that have cleared it. Very few people actually have legendary 3-perker with the right perk and refreshing because that's very hard to roll. Now the third perk bucket on these is not ideal. There's a lot of fluff in here and the abilities are all random, so you might not get the right one. And the other thing that is a bit of a downside about these is that they are coming with random attributes. There is no specific determined attribute here, so you can get any mix at any chance. But that's pretty okay. If you're not going for absolute speedruns, then getting a mix of con and another stat is completely fine. And you're getting a piece every time you're doing a run. So one group of 5 people means 5 pieces of this. And at least as of now, a key is very cheap to craft if you split the cost among 5 people. So to get to the Eternal Pools, you now want to take the teleporter near Lazarus. You can climb up the wall next to that one kind of. You have to mantle a bit here and there, but you will be able to get up there. And then from there, you just kind of follow up the stairs to the top, which is something you could already do before. But that brings you to the exit of the arena. And from there is a new path now. You can now climb up a little pillar to the right that is kind of fallen over, and this pillar will allow you to get up to the entrance of the arena. If you appreciate the video so far, you'd help me a lot by making one of these bars a little longer and the other one a little shorter. So this way you can just repeat the arena very quickly, because every time you finish the arena it will spit you out at this point and you'll be able to go again. There's also a hidden lost easel here, by the way, so that's a nice little bonus. Fighting Avarice is fairly easy. We did it with 3 people and no healer. Oath said he'd already done it with 2 people as well. We didn't all have Ward and Bane gear, so it was really just, we jumped in there and did it. Made it a little bit more difficult, but if you do it properly prepared, it's very, very easy. And if you do it with a full group, it's even easier. And generally, it's obviously advisable to do this with a full group as well, because then more people get rewards at the same time. So it's more value for money, basically, and you can just split the cost for the keys between you. If you don't have Angry Earth Ward gear and you may be a fresh 60 or returning player, then you want to be a bit more careful in the fight. You especially want to look out for his slams, which do a lot of damage. Ideally have a tank to take those. And you want to make sure to clear the ads that spawn around him, which will otherwise empower him. This is very, very easily done with Greatsword, which didn't exist when this boss came out, or even with a Cyclone on the spear. So you just want to make sure you have some AoE damage, you pull those mobs in a little bit. And if you don't manage to do that and the boss gets empowered, you can activate those pillars on the sides to kind of take away his empower buffs again. So it's a very straightforward fight, it's a very simple fight. Not really anything difficult here, and no challenge compared to the Sandworm at all. But if you are completely new, then just go in with a full group and you should be fine. You can also go down multiple times and be rest multiple times during this fight, so yeah, it is fairly easy. If you fully dedicate yourself to grinding the spot, then maybe also bring some extra weapons and materials, salvageables and all that stuff in order to do some season pass at the same time. It can be done reasonably well here because his ads that he spawns actually count as mobs for all of those achievements. As rewards for the fight, you get Umbral Shards, the Protector's Equipment Cache, and also Citrine Gypsum, though that has a daily cap. You get two different types of Mossborn gear from the cache. One is just one that has the visuals of the Mossborn gear, if you care about the design. Those come with random perks, and then you get the one with the locked Beast Ward and Refreshing. Now there's also a little bit of a trading or farming tip depending on what you want to do in here. In order to craft the keys for this, you need to make the Protector's Tuning Orb. And I think after this video, people will want to run this because they will realize, oh, wow, this is a very cheap way to get pretty solid gear for the Sandworm. And most of the gear that you can get from there is going to be useful in some way at least. But the problem is that you still need resources to craft these tuning orbs different from expeditions. You can see here that the required resources are Star Metal Chisel, 3 Runestone, 1 Energy Core, which is just basically all modes you have in the game 10 times. For both of the parts for this, it's the Elemental Heart and the Eternal Heart or something. But yeah, you can craft all of that at the Stonecutting Station. But then the one thing that is more relevant is the Glowing Swamp Moss. Star Metal Chisel comes from the faction vendor, by the way. And the Glowing Swamp Moss is something that wasn't really an issue before, but it might be an issue now. So this is a glowing piece of Swamp Moss that is used to craft the Protector's Tuning Orb. And it can be found from creatures around the Eternal Pool in Reekwater. And if you look at the list here, you can see all of the mobs this drops from, so it's basically everything that is in that area. Now the problem is that previously people needed to go through that area to get to the boss. And sure, you could skip a lot, but generally people would probably kill some mobs here and there, and that would give you at least some degree of influx of swamp moss. And also some chest runs used to go through there, which used to be an additional source of this, which most chest runs don't do anymore as far as I'm aware, at least not on my server. So this could lead to a situation where there's a lot more demand for glowing swamp moss than there ever was before. If people start spamming these arenas, which is only really gated by the fact that only one group can do it at a time, then yeah, it's gonna be a lot more contested, and I don't think a lot of people are necessarily inclined to farm this stuff at the moment. However, with people possibly going there more often, going to the arena more often, it is possible that this could be a more worthwhile farm spot at the same time. Sure, you could just buy some of the trading posts and then try to sell them for more, but the mobs there are very, very easy to kill. You can easily solo most of them, so it could be an efficient farm, or it could also be an effective route for chest runs, once again, if you're doing chest runs, in order to get some extra glowing swamp moss on the way that you can possibly sell for a fair bit more in the near future. Of course, this is one of the trading tips I posted on my Patreon early, so if you are interested in getting those types of tips early, consider supporting me there. Other than that, my Sandworm guide is nearing completion. I'm hoping to finish it either tomorrow or the day after, so if you're interested in that, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. Thanks again to Oathrazor for the tip, thanks to my patrons for supporting this video, and thank you for watching. Sloth, out.